Based on what we have seen now, we need to know what cancers are, what tumors are, and what neoplasia is. So the first aspect we see now is the definition of neoplasia. Neoplasia is an abnormal mass of tissue. It is not normal. As you've seen the previous two pictures, these were not normal, they were abnormal. The growth of which exceeds of the normal tissue and is uncoordinated with normal tissue, which means you have a growth which keeps growing so much, it is abnormal, it exceeds and is uncoordinated. And this persists in the same excessive manner even after cessation of the stimulus that evokes the change. This is a definition by Rupert Willis, which means when you have a lung cancer that grows out due to smoking, even if the person stops smoking, the lung cancer continues to grow. In this case, the stimulus is the cigarette smoke. So, the neoplasia is an abnormal mass of tissue. It grows excessively and it isn't coordinated with normal tissue. And it persists in the same excessive manner even though the stimulus that evoked the change has stopped. So this is a progressive growth. It is purposeless. You don't need a cancer in the body. It is pathological and it involves proliferation of cells. So remember, normally we all have a controlled rate of cell division. When it goes uncontrolled, it becomes a cancer. Now, terms to understand in the next few sessions. Cancer is the term for malignant tumors. Neoplasia means new growth. And when a neoplasia occurs, it is called a neoplasm. And when you study cancers and neoplasia, it is referred to as oncology. And there are a few terms to understand. Growth is how a body grows, how the cells divide. And the body grows by division of cells. And abnormal growth will occur when the cells divide in excess. Proliferation is the division of cells. When more cells divide, it is said to proliferate. Differentiation is the way to which the cells become more mature. Cells that are said to be well differentiated are mature cells. Poorly differentiated are immature cells. A tumor is a growth. If you remember our general pathology series, I spoke about Haller, Gruber, Doller, tumor, and functionalism. At that time, I told you that a tumor refers to an increase in size. This is the same thing. It refers to an increase in size, but just that a tumor refers more to a neoplasm rather than in inflammation. And any tumor or a neoplasm can invade when it is called invasion. And finally, a tumor can break up and go to other parts of the body and sit there and grow. This is called metastasis. Until now, we have actually seen the focus on non-neoplastic proliferations, where we know that the growth and proliferation is both controlled and it reverses back to normal. For example, hypertrophy of the heart. There is an increase in size of the heart because of increase in size of the cells. Hyperplasia of the endometrium. There is an increase in the endometrium because of increase in number of cells. Metaplasia, say for example of the respiratory tract, where one cell type changes into another. Dysplasia, when the cell type that changes to the other becomes like a cancer, but it remains within the epithelium. This is a picture that helps us understand that normal, metaplasia, and dysplasia. The cells become more and more irregular as it goes from normal to metaplasia to dysplasia. When compared to the previous slide, in neoplastic proliferation, it is uncontrolled and irreversible. In the previous case, everything was reversible. The cells could get back to normal. But in this case, the cells don't get back to normal. And this irreversible change can be either a benign tumor, when it remains local in a place and doesn't invade, or a malignant tumor, which is called cancer, where it invades beyond the basement membrane. So when we discuss the pathogenesis of neoplasia, we need to remember that it is a normal cell that transforms to an abnormal cell. So how does it transform? A damage occurs in the nucleus. Now, this helps us understand the nucleus with a smile and the nucleus which has been distorted, and the cytoplasm also is distorted. So when a DNA damage occurs, the cell that it proliferates to becomes two cells, with the same DNA damage, 4 cells with the DNA damage. So more cells occur with the same DNA damage. In subsequent multiplication, the damaged DNA damages even further, and so there are multiple levels of damage, and that leads to a simple cell becoming a damaged cell. So when progressive DNA damage occurs, what we saw as metaplasia going on to dysplasia will go on to invasion, where the cells invade beyond the basement. In terms of pathogenesis of neoplasia, a normal cell goes on to hyperplasia, and then metaplasia, and then there is a DNA damage, and then dysplasia, and then several more DNA damages, and then anaplasia, a term which I will discuss later, and then another DNA damage, and then it inverts deeper inside and goes on to DNA damage and metastasis. So at every level there is a DNA damage, and hence this is called multi-step theory of carcinogenesis, progressive DNA damage. Now, as I told you, there are two types of tumors, benign tumors and malignant tumors. Now, benign tumors are named by attaching just the three letters OMA